This week, we're going to talk about that age-old policy of Freemasonry. Ignore it. What am I talking about? Well, you know, when some conspiracy theory comes forward in print or online, Masonry's stance is to sort of not do anything. But maybe it's time we do something. Brother Andrew Rizzatello has a great article, and we'll dive into that. Additionally, we will learn about one of the most prolific Freemasons to ever live, Brother Enrico Fermi, the master of the atom. All this and more. Stay tuned.
Welcome back to Whence Came You, a Masonic podcast featuring research papers and discussions related to Freemasonry. Here's your host, Brother Robert Johnson.
Welcome back to the show. This is episode number 697. I want to thank everyone out there who has assisted in the production of this podcast. We've been doing it since 2011, and if you're out there right now and you might be thinking, hey, how can I help support something like this podcast? This is a great endeavor, or I like this show, and how can I help? Well, there are definite ways to assist. The first thing you can do is head on over to our website at wcypodcast.com, click on support the show, and check out the various options for supporting the program. We are going through Patreon, and we have contributor, fellow, and producer levels, as well as a legacy partner tier, which allows you and I to work together on an annual basis to come up with an episode of your choosing, and you help pick out the articles and direct the entire thing. It's a lot of fun. Anyway, aside from that, you can certainly help us out by sharing the podcast with your friends, brothers, and others interested in the royal art of Freemasonry, and of course its kindred sciences. We also have a shop where you can pick up autographed copies of Max Heindel's Ancient and Modern Initiation, a special edition that I put together with a foreword and a conclusion, as well as the definitive edition of the Master's Word, a short treatise on the Word, the Light, and the Self, which was by George Plumer, and Brother John Ruark and I went through, annotated the whole thing, added in an introduction and an epilogue, and of course, it's business time. The original book, written by John and myself, about how to establish business practices for Freemasonry without upsetting the apple cart of our wonderful traditions. Anyway, all of those things and more are available on our website, wcypodcast.com. Thank you for any considerations. In the news, I just want to give a huge shout out to the Valley of Columbus, Ohio, Scottish Rite, for having me out. It was an epic time. I want to thank their chairman of Masonic Education, as well as my friend and brother Mike Treloff, for hosting and just taking me to some of the greatest places for coffee in the Columbus, Ohio area. Wow, just an incredible experience. The Brotherhood is top-notch, should never be missed if you have an opportunity to check those guys out, and it was just a lovely time. Other bits of news. The first weekend in February, I'll be at Masonic Week out in Crystal City, Virginia, attending all of the things and watching everybody do their really cool stuff and their presentations, and just having a great time with the brothers there. The third weekend in October is the Conference of Grand Masters of North America. My home jurisdiction here in Illinois was lucky enough to be able to host it this year. They'll be hosting it at Rosemont, which is somewhat in the Chicagoland area, you might call. Our current Grand Master, Most Worshipful Brother Joe Farrell, is very excited about the event, and I never really knew how the Conference of Grand Masters went. I had never been. Some jurisdictions have them sort of open to members to go to, and a lot of other times it's sort of contained within just the Grand Lodge officers and things. I will share that I was asked by my Grand Lodge to do a presentation at the Conference of Grand Masters on a sort of esoteric topic. So I've got something planned for that. I'll be revising and doing something a little bit different for that, as the audience is, Grand Masters and Grand Lodge officers. It is nerve-wracking, yet the honor is just amazing. So more details to come on that. But if you are attending in Rosemont at the Conference of Grand Masters North America in February, well, I hope you stop in and check out the lecture, and we can grab a Coke or something if you're not too busy. I know all of you Grand Lodge officers and secretaries are the busiest in the world. So I just really appreciate the opportunity, of course, and hope to see you guys there. Anyway, the first piece I have this week comes from the education page on the Universal Freemasonry website. It is an article that was written by Kristen Wilson Slack, and it's titled Enrico Fermi, Master of the Atom. Now, Enrico Fermi is, of course, somebody who was huge in the physics and science discoveries in the 20th century. If you've ever heard something like Fermilab, yeah, that's named after Enrico Fermi, who was a Freemason. And, of course, it wasn't that he was a Freemason and went on to change the world, but in fact was somebody who was called to Masonry and also just happened to be somebody who changed the world. So this was published at the end of October this year, on October 29th, 2025, and I'd like to read that for you right now. And it starts off with just a note. Enrico Fermi embodied the union of science and philosophy, a seeker of hidden order. He transformed theory into tangible creation and mystery into method. His calm intellect and devotion to precision reflect the inner discipline of a Mason who builds not only in stone but in understanding. In his life's work, the pursuit of light through reason becomes a modern reflection of the ancient quest for the geometry of truth. Let's get into the article. Enrico Fermi, born on September 29, 1901 in Rome, Italy, was a physicist whose work profoundly shaped the 20th century. His earlier life was marked by a deep passion for physics, leading him to become one of the few scientists adept in both theoretical and experimental physics. His contributions spanned quantum theory, statistical mechanics, and nuclear and particle physics, earning him the moniker Architect of the Nuclear Age. Fermi's intellectual curiosity was evident from a young age. After the tragic death of his brother Giulio in 1915, he immersed himself in the study of physics and mathematics. His wife, Laura Fermi, recounted how Enrico would sit on his hands to keep warm while studying and turn the pages of the books with his tongue. This relentless pursuit for knowledge laid the foundation for a lifetime of discovery. In 1924, Fermi was initiated into the Masonic Lodge Adriano Limi of the Orient of Italy in Rome. The Adriano Limi Lodge, situated in Rome, Italy, holds a significant place in the annals of Italian Freemasonry. Named after Adriano Limi, who served as the Grand Master of the Grand Orient of Italy from 1885 to 1896, the lodge reflects the rich history and cultural influence of Italian Masonic traditions. Adriano Limi was a prominent figure in Italian Freemasonry during the late 19th century. His tenure as Grand Master was marked by efforts to enroll representatives of the political and cultural world into the lodges, including notable figures such as Giovanni Bovio, Giosso Carducci, Agostino Bertani, and Giuseppe Zanadelli. The lodge, named in honor of Limi, Adriano Limi, became a center for intellectual and cultural exchange, attracting members deeply committed to the Masonic principles of enlightenment, ethical responsibility, and intellectual growth. It was within this environment that Enrico Fermi was initiated into Freemasonry in the early 1920s. His association with the Adriano Limi Lodge underscores the lodge's reputation as a gathering place for individuals dedicated to pursuing knowledge and improving society. Fermi's profound intellectual curiosity and commitment to the pursuit of knowledge resonated deeply with the principles of Freemasonry, leading him to attain the degree of Master Mason in 1923. While specific details of his Masonic activities remain scarce, Freemasonry's emphasis on enlightenment, ethical responsibility, and intellectual growth aligned with his scientific ideals. It provided a philosophical framework that complemented his lifelong dedication to advancing the human understanding. Fermi's scientific journey was marked by groundbreaking discoveries. In 1926, he formulated the statistical laws known as Fermi statistics, governing particles that obey the Pauli exclusion principle, later termed fermions. His work in Rome led to the development of the beta decay theory in 1934, integrating previous radiation theories with Pauli's neutrino concept. This period also saw his experiments with neutron bombardment, culminating in the discovery of slow neutrons, a pivotal step toward nuclear fission. In 1938, Fermi was awarded the Nobel Prize in Physics for his demonstrations of the existence of new radioactive elements produced by neutron irradiation and for his related discovery of nuclear reactions brought about by slow neutrons. Fearing for the safety of his Jewish wife, they began searching for an escape from the impending genocide. Soon after, Enrico and Laura immigrated to the United States, fleeing the fascist regime takeover of Italy. Once in the US, Fermi joined the Manhattan Project, where he played a crucial role in achieving the first controlled nuclear chain reaction in December of 1942 at the University of Chicago. His work laid the foundation for both nuclear energy and nuclear weapons, forever changing the world. Despite his contributions to the development of atomic bombs, Fermi was deeply reflective about the ethical implications of nuclear power. Upon the discovery of nuclear fission, he went to the University of Chicago and later Los Alamos to serve as a general consultant. Brother Fermi contributed significantly to the Manhattan Project, the creation of the first U.S. atomic bomb. He labored for the betterment of humanity, yet his research ultimately led to the creation and utilization of the atomic bombs, which killed over 200,000 citizens of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, Japan. Brother Enrico was adamantly opposed to the utilization of the hydrogen bomb, yet he ultimately argued for the development of knowledge regardless of the consequences of the use of that knowledge. His wit and humility were as remarkable as his intellect. He once quipped, "If I could remember the names of all these particles, I'd be a botanist," highlighting the complexity of particle physics and his modesty regarding his vast knowledge. He also viewed science through a philosophical lens, once stating, quote, "There are two possible outcomes. If the result confirms the hypothesis, then you've made a measurement. If the result is contrary to the hypothesis, then you've made a discovery." This perspective underscores his belief in the value of unexpected results in advancing scientific understanding. Fermi's contributions to education were just as significant as his scientific discoveries. As a professor at the University of Chicago, he mentored and influenced many of the most brilliant physicists of the next generation. His ability to explain complex physical phenomena in simple terms made him a revered teacher, and his insights into quantum mechanics, nuclear reactions, and particle physics paved the way for continued advancement in these fields. His students would go on to shape modern physics, further expanding his influence beyond his own lifetime. Brother Fermi was elected Fellow of the Royal Society on April 27, 1950. Fermi's legacy is enshrined in numerous honors bearing his name, including the Enrico Fermi Award, the Fermi National Accelerator Laboratory or Fermi Lab, and the synthetic element fermium. His life and work continue to inspire, reflecting a profound dedication to the advancement of science and humanity. His influence extended beyond the realm of physics into the Masonic traditions he embraced, where the pursuit of knowledge and the enlightenment of mankind remained a core to his character. Fermi's later years were marked by continued contributions to physics, particularly in the study of high-energy particles. Even as his health declined, he remained an active mentor and researcher, shaping the next generation of scientists. Unfortunately, in 1954 he was diagnosed with stomach cancer. Despite undergoing surgery and treatment, his condition worsened. On November 28, 1954, at the age of 53, Fermi passed away in Chicago, Illinois. His death marked the loss of one of the greatest scientific minds of the 20th century. In his final days, Fermi remained engaged with his work, demonstrating his unwavering commitment to science. He continued to analyze data and propose new theories even as his strength faded. His colleagues and students recalled his stoic determination, his sharp mind never dimmed by the illness. His passing was mourned deeply by the scientific community, but his legacy endures through the knowledge he imparted, the discoveries he made, and the countless individuals he inspired. His contributions, however, live on through the scientific advancements that he pioneered, the institutions named in his honor, and again, the many physicists he inspired. His legacy is one of brilliance, perseverance, and an enduring impact on both science and humanity. A great write-up on Brother Enrico Fermi by Kristen Wilson Slack on the Universal Co-Masonry website. As always, our thanks goes out to her and her excellent writing and putting together of this information in a way that is both entertaining, informative, and inspiring. And of course, Enrico Fermi, what an inspiration. And to think that we lost somebody of his caliber at the young age of 53. It makes me think of others whom we lost too early. For instance, one that always comes to mind is Rod Serling, but obviously Serling was not a Mason, but in my mind he is one of those people who has always stood up for things like those same pieces: enlightenment, ethical responsibility, and of course intellectual growth. I love those 3 bullets. I think those should be in every lodge dining hall. Freemasonry, 3 bullets, boom, boom, boom. And I think that sort of shapes an expectation. So this next piece comes from the Meet, Act, and Part blog page, which is, of course, run by our good friend and brother Darren Lainers. Recently, a good friend and brother, Brother Andrew Rizzatello, out in New Jersey, wrote a very interesting and I believe pertinent piece, which he sent over to Darren Lainers as well, and who deemed it appropriate for the Meat Act and Part blog, which is where it is hosted, and I think it ruffled a few feathers. However, it also got people talking, which I think is the best outcome. Let's check this article out. It's called, Yeah, but Why Should We Care? Apathy in Regards to Bogus and Anti-Masonic Rhetoric. Let's check this out. This is again by Andrew Rizzatello of New Jersey. They just got blackballed. During my time on social media as a Freemason, many and inestimable accounts of the horrors that supposedly happened during our meetings and rituals have come across my feed. From devil worship to physical abuse, from misogyny to allegations of child endangerment, the accusations span a huge gamut of horrible actions that anyone could think of. However, what I believe to be the most egregious is the lack of response to these claims and the general meh that comes from my brothers. Pay them no mind, they say. They were probably denied entry and are now butthurt. Besides, they don't know what they're talking about. This attitude becomes more detrimental the longer it persists, and could eventually open our lodges and members to attack, especially with global connectivity we all share through the internet. The God Grifter. I renounced it. While there are plenty of individuals who fake membership to gain clicks and views, actual former Masons are by far the worst, because they know they're lying simply to appease the religious crowd. The image shown on the blog site, called Broken Ashlar, is of a apparent television series or YouTube series. It is an example of a disgraced Mason who has created a television series dedicated to spreading anti-Masonic propaganda simply because he had a falling out with his grand jurisdiction. You're not high enough. Pervasive lies surrounding the Scottish Rite continue to this day, because it is psychologically satisfying to say someone with a larger number after their name is somehow more important than another. Those who know nothing of Freemasonry fail to realize that titles from appendant bodies mean nothing in the grand scheme, and that the leadership structure does not always coincide with a brother's title or level of knowledge. My only duties as laity are love of God, love thy neighbor, and to run my sword through the bowels of heretics. I truly hope Masons repent, but I will not shed tears when your lodges are set ablaze. A comment found on a Fraternal Ties Instagram post. Mental health. When it comes to threats made against Masons online, most of my internet brethren resort to the trite and overused excuse of the perpetrator having mental health issues. While this may be a factor, to simply dismiss threats, misinformation, and other inflammatory or derogatory things with a lackadaisical approach to underlying conditions is wholeheartedly wrong. Real and true cases of mental health are not to be laughed about, even if it may come across as self-deprecating joke. Some people with severe cases of dissociative identity disorder can absolutely be violent perpetrators if their symptoms are not handled in the proper way. Others, such as those with major depressive order, could see their only way out as a blaze of glory, which just so happens to include the local lodge. The quote-unquote red pill and black pill mentality of sites like 4chan and Reddit will only bolster those actions if there is no one to help guide these misaligned individuals away from such harmful rhetoric. I will break from the piece for a moment to explain. There is a meme there, and it's the classic, the guy who's trying to make a decision, and he's sweating, and he's got a towel to his forehead. He doesn't know which button to push, and the buttons are labeled "Making Good Men Better," and the other one says, "Ignore signs that some men need more help." Continuing on, he writes, "Community and the craft." So what do we do? Well, first and foremost, stop ignoring the signs. Sure, every free thinker on the internet isn't a threat, but that doesn't mean you can simply brush them off. Their misguided attempts to find a boogeyman for their own failings can lead to others promoting or going through with acts of violence, while these individuals and actions should instead have been used as a teachable moment to those who will listen. Informing the public about things such as the Taxel hoax, the protocols of the Elders of Zion, anti-Masonic or bogus groups and other maligned ideas will be helpful in the long run. Media literacy is also a major tool in deciphering fact from fiction, and it should be taught to not only the public, but to our own members as well. Sharing memes and links with one another can be fun, but where do those come from? Are they negative in origin? Do they link back to an article full of pseudoscience or hate-filled blog posts? Sure, you disagreed with a brother or friend about a certain politician's stance, but did you really need to use a George Soros meme to counter their statement? For your information, no, you didn't. Because that meme is just a tiny part of a much larger anti-Semitic and anti-Masonic conspiracy that has been going on since World War II, and now you've just spread it further. We taught a rock to think. With the ability to access hundreds of pages of peer-reviewed information, there is no excuse for a brother to not have a modicum of knowledge regarding conspiracy theories and hate groups. In the following image, you can see just some of the resources a person can use to help fight against the pervasive ignorance, such as a number of books and websites like the SPLC. There are also brothers that actually work in human intelligence, cybersecurity, or other related fields that you can use as resources to see just how far some of these rabbit holes go. These resources are supremely necessary in today's internet, especially with the continuing evolution of AI automated answers. Bad actors such as shock jocks like Alex Jones and Nick Fuentes seem to get louder and louder, leading to algorithms pointing people in their direction, which in turn leads to more harmful misinformation and bias. The only way to course correct this would be for more people, brothers and the rest, to stand up to their nonsense and show others how maniacal those types of individuals are. That way, when the algorithm does scrub the internet for the inevitable "do the Freemasons worship Satan?" question, it will show that person where that hoax was created, by whom and when, rather than a 5-hour YouTube video by a floundering X Factor Australia contestant. The Phylaxis Society. Let's not forget, our Prince Hall brethren have been dealing with their own issues regarding religious delusion, such as pastors calling Sister Rosa Parks a witch for being OES, conspiracies like PHA are just slave masons to the white UGLE charters, and groups trying to claim legitimacy when there is no lineage, like International Free and Accepted Modern Masons. The Commission on Bogus Masonry is a wonderful source for anyone looking to see if the group claiming to be Freemasons, both PHA and state Grand Lodges, in origin truly has a right to say so, whether it be by Masonic or legal authority. "You're just habitually online" is a phrase that should no longer hold any detrimental meaning. We are all habitually online because of work, schools, hobbies, etc. With being online comes knowing who and what lies beneath the surface of the fairy tale of your special little hole of the internet. The daisies that grow in your field of pleasure may be fertilized by the dung of horrible misinformation and bias. Knowing is half the battle. As the above image from a long-forgotten cartoon states, to know is only half of the battle. The rest is action. That action, to arm oneself and others with the knowledge, information, and tools to combat what we see and experience in our severely interconnected virtual lives. To be ready to have some hard discussions with friends, family members, and brothers about where their rhetoric comes from, to find where our own biases lie, and to chip away that rough stone, as we are so oft to say. And if it has to go this way, to be ready to pursue disciplinary action, be it legal or Masonic, to correct someone's stance. Brother Rizzatello is a past master of Olive Branch Lodge 16 in Freehold, New Jersey. He enjoys cigars, whiskey, and debunking dumb conspiracy theories on various social media sites, and you can also find him being a general Masonic nuisance on TikTok under the username @metal_Drew, and on Instagram as @BroMetalDrew. A wonderful call to action here by Brother Andrew. I've often asked myself the same questions of why we have this sort of non-response policy to accusations. Oh, if we just ignore them, they go away, or to fight these accusations causes some sort of legitimizing of the information. I don't think that's necessarily the case. It may have been several years ago, maybe 50, 60 years ago, but today with the rapid onset of information, I think it stands to reason that we have a obligation to correct the public when there is misinformation being spread about Masonry or, of course, its kindred sciences. So, Brother Andrew, I'm with you, and I want to say thanks for putting this in front of everyone who's reading the Meat, Act, and Part blog. And I hope if you liked this article, you'll head on over to the meatactandpart.com and click on the blog, or you can even check out the amazing podcast that is run there by Darren Laners, Brother Greg Knott, and Brother Van Gordon. So, all that to say, I want to thank one more time our producers, fellows, contributors, and our legacy partners for all of their assistance. If you want to find out more how to help the program, head over to the website, wcypodcast.com, click on Support the Show, and check it all out. That's it for this week. We will be back next week. I know, it's going to be like the weekend after Christmas, but we'll be there. We'll have a nice little program, a little distraction, a little escape from the chaos that might be the Christmas season. And you know, as I say that, it's not lost on me that we should really be thinking about this time of year, whether you're celebrating Christmas, Hanukkah, Diwali, Kwanzaa, any of the holidays, the high holidays that we have in this time of year, that we seem to get so stressed out this time of year. It is supposed to be the time of year that we don't get super stressed out. So if we can recognize that together, maybe we can all collectively take a deep breath and enjoy the holidays a little more. That's it. We'll talk to you all next week. And until then, stay on the level. For Whence Came You, I'm Robert Johnson. Take care.
You've been listening to Whence Came You, a Masonic podcast featuring research papers and discussions related to Freemasonry, with your host, Brother Robert Johnson. Be sure to join us for our next edition.
WCY Media.
Well, you guys beat me. It's not the